You ever see 50 toothbrushes freeze mid-scrub right there in the mouths of the Willow Trace faithful because somebody managed to suck an entire neighborhood dry before breakfast? Yeah. 6:12 in the morning, every faucet in that pristine subdivision started coughing out air. The sprinklers hissed like deflated balloons, and that fancy HOA fountain, the one they bragged about in the brochure, looked like a giant concrete tongue just sticking out dry as toast. Meanwhile, upstream, my little creek used to sound like music behind my fence had turned overnight into a gravel driveway with an identity crisis. That sunrise hit different. I stepped out in my socks, coffee in hand, and took in the full disaster 12 tons of industrial gravel dumped straight into the waterway that's been winding behind my family's place for 37 years. The creek wasn't just choked. It looked like a monument to the worst kind of suburban tyranny, all because some folks think you can concrete your way to paradise. Now, I'm Graham Ellison, just a quiet guy, hobby woodworker, lifelong listener to the Creek Outback. My spot in Cedar Hollow isn't even inside their kingdom. I live a solid 11 feet outside Willow Trace's border, and honestly, about 11 miles outside their patience. My family's had this land since long before those rows of beige starter homes sprouted out of what used to be farm country. That creek, she was here first, winding through wild blackberries and willow trees, home to herons and the occasional river otter. But along came Evelyn Sharp. You know, the type president of the HOA visor glued to her head, the kind of woman who says, "per my last email," out loud at cookouts. She'd only been in Willow Trace 3 years, but she took over the board faster than Napoleon took Europe, except with more clipboards, less genius, and a whole lot more opinions about uniform shrub height. First, she called my creek a mosquito trench, sent me a certified letter comic sans fond, and everything claiming it violated community uniformity. Mind you, I'm not even in her community. She wanted me to remediate a natural water course to match the approved aesthetics of the neighborhood. That letter, it's framed in my workshop right between my grandfather's hand tools and a Polaroid of the creek from '87 Pure Comedy. But she didn't stop there. Suddenly I had violation tags taped to my door, my non-HOA door, mind you, written in angry red marker with a cluster of exclamation points. Then a drone started buzzing my backyard, circling like a mechanical vulture while I tried to finish a table for a client. The grand finale, a full-throated HOA rant at 7 in the morning about my unapproved riparian textures. Her words, not mine, that spooked a raccoon so bad it took early retirement. And let me tell you, she came prepared. Clipboard strapped to her hip like a sheriff standing on my property line measuring the distance between creek stones with a ruler holstered in leather. She snapped photos from every angle, muttering about aesthetic inconsistencies, like she was building a case for Law & Order landscaping unit. She didn't come alone either. Brought a landscape architect named Bradley Guy, wore a bow tie in 90-degree heat, and kept calling my creek problematic from a design perspective. They spent hours putting together a vision board for creek improvement, which was basically a scrapbook full of concrete channels and sterile rock gardens cut from desert landscaping magazines. Bradley suggested we could install color-coordinated river rocks in pleasing geometric patterns. I suggested he take those patterns and boldly go where no one had gone before, far away from my property. When I didn't bulldoze Mother Nature into a beige rock garden, she got creative. Tuesday night, 11:47 p.m. My security cams caught a skid steer and 2 guys in neon shirts rolling down the easement. They laid out landscape fabric like a funeral shroud and dumped 12 tons of gravel straight into the creek. Sounded like a thunderstorm made of rocks, just crushing decades of flow. Tadpoles blinking out SOS in Morse code. While I filmed from my porch, I noticed a pipe brand new at the HOA line with a tidy little pump house and a hush-hush hose disappearing into my creek bed. The whole operation took under 3 hours, and Evelyn, decked out in a reflective vest and holding a light-up traffic wand, directed the whole circus like she was landing planes instead of destroying an ecosystem. She even brought her own thermos and folding chair, treating it like a movie night. Next morning, the creek below the dam was dry as dust. And so were all the pipes in Willow Trace clubhouse pool showers, half the cul-de-sacs. Gone. Neighbors wandered out in shampoo helmets and foamy beards, blinking at dry spigots like cavemen discovering fire's evil twin. Margaret Henderson from Unit 47 had to rinse her hair with bottled Evian. Brad Thompson, bathrobe and all, was caught at the gas station, buying gallon jugs, soap suds, still clinging to his chest hair. The HOA group chat, 312 messages in the first hour, everything from polite concern to full caps, lock panic. So I did what any decent citizen would. I sent a tidy packet timestamp video maps and a glamour shot of Evelyn in her safety vest straight to the county watershed office, the State Department of Environmental Quality, and just for kicks, the Army Corps of Engineers. I CC'd the EPA, the State Attorney General's Environmental Crimes Unit, and 3 law firms that advertised free consultations. Yeah, I played a win. Water District folks rolled in tracing that mystery pipe with gear straight out of a spy movie. Turns out Willow Trace had been stealing creek water for years, feeding their fancy fountain and irrigating their lawns. Their backflow prevention setup, non-existent. The district cut off their master meter until a full inspection. Translation: no water for anybody, not even to brew the board's morning coffee. The inspector's face, man, I wish I'd taken a picture. Pure horror mixed with professional offense, like finding someone grilling steaks in the dishwasher. He actually snapped photos for his wall of shame back at the office. Turns out the illegal tap went back 7 years before Evelyn, but definitely kept up under her watch. They'd been siphoning 12,000 gallons a month, enough to fill a swimming pool every 2 months. Sheriff came by and posted a trespass warning on my fence. No entry except Graham Ellison. Laminated, zip-tied every 6 feet. The state issued an emergency restoration order. Remove the gravel, restore the creek, and hire a real hydrologist who knows which way water flows. The Corps froze every HOA project, meditation garden, new pool house. Ironically, the replacement water feature pending permits they should have filed years ago. So Evelyn storms over, accuses me of weaponizing bureaucracy. Her voice so shrill it set off every dog in 3 blocks. She actually used the phrase environmental terrorism. Sheriff was still there, just raised an eyebrow so high it nearly broke the sound barrier. She left that morning with a court date and a restraining order 50 feet from my property, 100 from the creek. About time someone measured things right. The emergency HOA meeting was a show, standing room only, people spilling out into the hallway like Black Friday shoppers. Folks brought their own chairs. Somebody started a live stream. Local news rolled in after the Fountain Lady destroys creek, Karma destroys Fountain Lady headline hit Facebook. I sat in back with my thermos and a smirk, waving at neighbors who flashed me a thumbs up whenever Evelyn wasn't looking. Then came the twist. Patricia Gwynn, resident super sleuth, filed a records request and turned up 237 pages of Evelyn's emails about the creek situation. Do it at night. Nobody checks permits for landscaping. It's not a creek, it's a ditch with PR. If the pipe's illegal, say it's decorative. One message even included a Microsoft Paint diagram labeled Operation Aqua Compliance, reroute the creek underground. They put those emails on the projector in full HD. The room simmered. Someone actually gasped when they read her plan to call the creek a seasonal drainage swale if the authorities came knocking. The county inspector started reading off daily fines. The Corps talked fines per shovel. A board member finally stood up, motion to recall. Passed faster than gossip at a church picnic. Unanimous except for Evelyn, who tried to filibuster her own firing by reading from the HOA Constitution, which turned out to be printouts from a home decorating blog. She tried to cite an article called 10 Ways to Tame Your Neighbor's Mess as legal precedent. When that failed, she reached for Robert's Rules, except she was holding Emily Post's etiquette book instead. Under supervision, the HOA paid a restoration crew to haul every last rock out of my creek bucket by bucket like reverse archaeologists. The pump house demolished. They finally installed a legitimate backflow preventer. The final tally, $23,000 in state fines, $41,000 to the Army Corps, $38,000 for the restoration, $15,000 in legal bills, $8,000 for emergency water deliveries, $6,000 for the hydrologist, $4,000 for after-the-fact permits. Evelyn, because she personally hired the midnight gravel crew and wrote the check from her discretionary fund, got hit with personal liability for a chunk of the civil penalties. The judge, a fly fisherman, spent 20 minutes schooling everyone on the importance of riparian zones. You could see Evelyn shrinking in her seat, face cycling through all 7 shades of purple. The gavel came down $18,000 in personal fines, 300 hours of community service cleaning storm drains in a poncho in front of the very fountain she destroyed, banned from any HOA board in the county for 5 years, and get this, forced to attend a full-day workshop on stream stewardship, complete with a final exam. She had to pass with an 80 or take it again. Evelyn tried to argue, claimed it was all about protecting property values. Judge didn't even let her finish, reminded her creeks don't care about HOA bylaws. She doubled down, said she was defending the community from mosquitoes and unseemly wildlife. Judge tacked on 50 more hours of wetlands restoration. That last bang of the gavel echoed like a thunderclap as Evelyn stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish, finally realizing what it's like to live without water. Her world crumbled faster than a sandcastle at high tide. So here's what I'm wondering, after everything that happened, do you think justice means getting even or making things right for everybody, even the folks who started the mess? Drop your thoughts below. And hey, if you've got your own HOA war story or ever tangled with a fountain lady in your neighborhood, let's hear it. Tell me where you're watching from and hit that share button so more folks learn what real justice looks like when Mother Nature gets the last word.